Welcome back. I want to show you how to start working with text in this image. Now, obviously, probably by now you understand what the text tool is, and you understand that you can type out text and use it. And obviously, these are all in different layers, and you can move them around. But let's discuss this a little bit more because there's something really important you need to be aware of. I'm going to make everything invisible for a second and clarify something. I'll make a new layer, put it at the top, and I'm going to go to my text tool. And in this case, see the little, I don't know what to call that, the font thing shows up with a little box around it. Now, if I just click, I'm not mousing down, I'm clicking, and I start typing something like am typing, something. And if I just keep going, it just kind of goes until I hit enter, and then it'll continue to type, and it looks like I have it on center justify, so I'm going to now grab that. So I did that by clicking. I did not draw what we call a text box to create what I have here. And I want to make this clear because if I go back, and let me show you a difference. If I come down here and I mouse down and drag, before I let go, it looks like a selection's been created, but what I've actually done is I'm creating what's called a text box. And let me show you the difference. If I start typing something, I am typing something. See how it automatically, without me entering anything, I will continue to type without pressing enter. It will automatically move it to another area. And you might be thinking, okay, big deal. But here's something important you might not be aware of. If I change this text box, as you can see, the type does change in terms of size, but there is a distinct difference between the two of these. So this one also lets me change the size of my text, okay? Something else though you might not be aware of. Let's say that I have these two text boxes here. I'm going to make a copy of this one. So I'm going to just option drag, okay? There it is. And let's say I want to put them next to each other, and if I decide to come down to these different text boxes and I go to Window, Paragraph, I get all the alignments here. So I can left align, I can center align, which I generally wouldn't do with a lot of text. I also can right align, which I also would not do with a lot of text. So left align is generally what you want to have, but I still think that looks a little sloppy. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to justify like that, and it looks like I need to do a little bit of work with kerning here because you can see how that just looks completely awkward like that. But you get the idea of how it just lets me organize that and make it fit. Whereas if I come up to this text box here and I go to paragraph again, you'll notice that the options to justify are blocked out. If that's something you want to do, you won't be able to do it. So keep in mind that you need to have a text box to be able to fit these into the site. So please be aware of that. And that's the first thing I want to mention to you guys. We can get into the kern a little bit later. So what I'm referring to when I mean kern is that, see how there's this awkward kind of spacing happening here. I probably don't want to keep that. But if I'm looking back in my font here, so let me get rid of these for just a second. The way I drew this text out is I just typed it out in a box without even thinking about it. And something to be aware of is you generally don't want to right justify. If you have a lot of text like that, you definitely want to, at the very least, left justify. So I would be careful about that. But the other thing about this is that it's a mess. It's a complete and total mess in terms of everything else about it. So I'm going to have to do some cleanup. So left justify, maybe bring this over here before I even see how everything else fits. I could, if I wanted to, hit the enter key. This is a sloppy way of doing this. And bring this in like that, and that at least looks a little bit better, but I won't be able to justify this text. Now what I could do, and I'm just typing out blah, blah, blah. So if I wanted to, I could just, again, make a text box, and I could create one on one side and type out blah, blah, blah a couple times, and then grab that text box and move it again like I showed you before, over here. And an example of that, because I've already done it, in case you're like, what are you talking about, Silver, is this one right here, where, oh, maybe I didn't do it yet. Never mind. I thought I had it done, but I guess I didn't have an example of that. Let me see if I have it open here. It's one of these. Nope. There we are. Okay. So I've done that down there. And then just to, because I don't think I have to show you how to do all this stuff, see how everything is slowly becoming aligned. So I have a 1-inch border. I'm trying to create areas where everything looks good together. And then I'm also trying to create a sense of hierarchy. So I've gone ahead and moved this up here. I'm not quite done with this, but see how that looks just so much better and better organized than obviously what I started off with. So something to consider. But the next goal here, and I'm not going to give you all the information, right, is to figure out how are you going to align your text. Again, avoid center alignment, avoid unless you have a very, very small amount of text, and avoid right alignment with a lot of text. You want to left align your text, and you don't want it to go off into the sunset either.